Hi everyone, what's up? AB Squad. This is your boy Abbas. Welcome to the family. Welcome to AB React. So guys, today I'm back here checking out another interesting video of Douglas Murray. Today I'm going to check out this one titled Islamic Extremist Cancels Douglas Murray about Sharia law. I hope guys you know you are ready to see this one with me. Do all to smash the like button, join the family, join AB React by clicking on your subscribe button and then on your notification bell so you don't miss out whenever I upload a video. If you have a recommendation, suggestion guys, always do well to leave them right there in the comment section. Alright, AB Squad, without waste of time, let's do this guys.
Cannot tolerate adultery, fornication. We cannot tolerate apostasy, not because this is from our own whims and desires, but this is enshrined within the Quran and the Sunnah of the Messenger Muhammad.
So I'll give you one other example. When a woman is brought in adultery to Jesus, he says, he who's without sin casts the first stone. When Muhammad has a woman brought in, he orders her to be stoned.
Douglas Murray, a prominent British author, journalist and commentator, has been an outspoken critic of Islamic extremism and the implementation of Sharia law topic. Douglas Murray stands out as a vocal critic who believes that certain interpretations of Islam pose significant challenges to liberal Western values. His perspectives are often framed within the context of broader debates on multiculturalism, immigration, and the preservation of Western cultural norms.
Islamism has become a growing concern in Britain. We've all become more used to the sight of women veiled from head to foot, radicals holding placards saying things like behead those who criticize Islam. Surveys suggest that 37% of young British Muslims want Sharia law in this country. Many people are now asking, is Islam just an intolerant religion? Anjam Chowdhury, you would be described by many as a radical Muslim, and you say that you adhere to your faith properly, and you believe, for example, in stoning to death for adultery, 100 lashes for fornication, and also death for those who abandon the faith, apostasy. You believe that? How can you say that this is a tolerant religion?
Well, I think that one needs to appreciate that the word Islam is derived from the root word istislam, which means submission. Therefore, the Muslim is the one who submits entirely to the Sharia, the divine law of God. Hence, toleration is something which is, if you like, defined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God. Therefore, if something is in accordance with the Sharia, we tolerate it. If it is outside of the Sharia, we cannot tolerate it. Hence, for example, Islam will tolerate non-Muslims to live among the Muslims within the Sharia under an Islamic state. Their life, wealth, their honor, their dignity will be protected. They will get the basic needs of food, clothing and shelter. But at the end of the day, we cannot tolerate adultery.
I would say Islam is a very, very different religion entirely. Like, that means if at all it was actually this one that was written in the Bible where they said a woman committed adultery, because I'm saying it here that they don't tolerate things like that, and also it has been written that non-Muslim should not live with Muslim. Come on guys, we here the Christians, it doesn't seem right, because why would you say non-Muslim shouldn't live with a Muslim? That means if us, the Christian, will also say non-Christian shouldn't live with Christian, doesn't make any sense. I think Islamic religion is totally different. Like, it has a lot of flaws, guys. Let's continue.
Fornication, we cannot tolerate apostasy, not because this is from our own whims and desires, but this is enshrined within the Quran and the Sunnah of the Messenger Muhammad.
So what should happen to an adulterer?
Well, the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, as narrated in the Quran, that the one who commits adultery, he will be stoned to death, and the one who commits fornication, who is not married, they will get 100 lashes, and that will be done publicly. And for your information, if you look in the history of Islam, there were, for example, only about 60 reported rapes when the Sharia was implemented. There were only about 120 hands ever cut. So it is not only a harsh punishment which is fitting, but it is also a great deterrent within society, and it will rid society of many of the ills that we have. I believe that Britain would never be better than when the Sharia has been implemented.
Sorry, Anjan. First of all, your Arabic was wrong. The root word for Islam is not Islam, it's Salima. I assume you don't speak Arabic. Secondly, it's not in the Quran that you have to stone to death. That's also wrong. I don't know where you learned Islam from, Anjam. It's probably from Umar Bakr Muhammad. But I'd just like to say that all religions...
Is there stuff in the book? Is it in the Quran?
All religions...
Wait, 1 second, let's see what it says.
I'd just like to say something here, that aside from his terrible Arabic, all religions are what their followers make them. And that depends upon the vast majority of the followers of a faith. Whether it's Christianity, Islam or Judaism. No one religion should be singled out to say that this particular religion is intolerant. In the medieval period, Pope Urban II launched the Crusades in the name of God. And today we have people like Anjem speaking the way he just did. I think the difference is that the problem today happens to be that many Muslims have subscribed to something we call Islamism, whereby they believe Islam is a political ideology that must be forced upon people in their preference is at the end of a sword.
Is he a real Muslim?
Well, can I just
is he a real Muslim?
In the Quran, Allah said, He said, whatever the Prophet brought, take it. Whatever he left, leave it. So everything is enshrined within the Quran, which is explained by the Sunnah of the Prophet's sayings, actions, consent. But can I just say that the lady there is not the only one from the Council of Ex-Muslims. Majid Nawazin is a well-known sellout, and he's a non-Muslim. He's a Catholic. So I think that you need to have Muslims to talk about Islam.
What's the punishment? What's the punishment in hell?
You cannot ally with the American and the British establishment.
What's the punishment waiting for him? What's the punishment waiting for him in hell?
Well, he'll be in hellfire. But the point is that he needs to retake his shahada.
What would you do to me?
Let's talk in a minute about apostasy.
I'd rather make mistakes from Arabic than leave the deen of al-Islam like Majid Nawaz.
Now, Douglas Murray, is there a problem actually in the Holy Book, in the faith, or is the problem in some of those, like this gentleman and their interpretation of it?
Well, we're very lucky that most Muslims don't think anything like Anjem Chowdhury, or we'd really be in trouble. Most Muslims, both in Britain and across the world, are law-abiding, decent people for whom their faith is an important part of their lives. However, there is an awkward thing about Islam, which is that Islam's religion, its founder, was a more violent man than, for instance, the founder of Christianity. I'd give you an example. I mean, if Christ, I'm not a Christian, but I have no truck in this thing, but if Christ had been a warrior, had killed people he captured, Christianity's history would be even more violent than it has been. I'd give you one other example. When a woman is brought in adultery to Jesus, he says, he who's without sin casts the first stone. When Muhammad has a woman brought in, he orders her to be stoned. This would be a very different outcome. Now, fortunately, as I say, there's no doubt about this, about the nature of Muhammad as a beginner of a religion. There's no doubt about that, but there is also no doubt about the fact, as I say, that most Muslims don't behave in that way. Because
I think all this thing actually boils down to the Muslim religion, because I think most of the Muslims are not actually behaving the way it is being written in the Quran, it's being written in the Sharia law. I think they are actually working out of it, because every single thing that has been written in the Islamic religion, they are not following it, they are not acting towards that. And I think from what Dr. said, he made a very vital point, because I don't see a reason why, if God was actually a warrior, he killed all those people. Do you think Christianity would be like this? But just take a look at the Christianity aspect of this world, and then look at the Islamic aspect of this world. Is two different things. These things is really affecting a lot of things.
Religion is open.
Sorry, Douglas, that's untrue. It's untrue. You've deliberately picked on one example, and that is Jesus Christ, the prophet of God. Before that, there were many other prophets that Christians also believe in, such as the prophets of the Old Testament, who launched wars, who were kings, King Solomon, King David. Hold on, Douglas, I'm making a point here, which is that prophets during those times, some of them fought, some of them didn't fight, some of them it's disputed whether they fought. The point is that all religions are interpreted. We can't say here that Islam is one thing or another.
But Jesus' message is very clear. He never said to stone anyone to death, Jesus, did he?
I think it's disputed, even the fact that the Prophet Muhammad stoned people to death. That's not a fact. That's not a fact.
But yeah, you can admit it. Harris Rafiq.
Yeah, just a couple of points. First of all,
did the Prophet order people to be stoned to death?
Right, okay. That case itself was where the woman insisted that she had punishment. There was one case where the woman was stoned, and that was when she came to the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, and said, I have committed adultery. The Prophet, peace upon him, turned his face away. She asked him again, I've committed adultery. Only when she asked the third time for a punishment was the punishment insisted on. That is the only
Should he not have still said no?
I beg your pardon?
Should he not have still said no?
No, she insisted that she be punished. But coming back to the original point, in terms of Sharia, first of all, there is nothing in the British law that actually prevents me from practicing my faith. So there's no need for Sharia law in this country. And secondly, there's nothing. And secondly, the other thing is there is no compulsion in Islam. In terms of Anjum classifying myself or Majid or anybody else as they're not Muslim.
Sharia, then maybe we could call you a Muslim.
Well, at the end of the day, there are three things that make up a Muslim: Islam and Iman, and from that we get the Sharia. There's the other thing that Anjum seems to be forgetting about, that is tasawwuf, the state of ihsan, being a better human being, worshipping your Lord as if you can see him, because even if you can't, he can see you. That's how you treat your labours, the spirit of the Lord.
Okay, what is the problem? Mariam, you abandoned your faith. Mariam, you're an ex-Muslim.
I'm an atheist now, but I think this question is wrong, and this is exactly the reason why. The problem is you can find intolerance in every religion, including in Islam. But the reason Islam is such a focus today is because it is the banner of a political movement, and that's where we need to put the finger on. Anjum Chowdhury represents that political movement, that actually, it's not a question of, oh, he's an intolerant man, we can just ignore him. The problem is that this movement makes laws, it actually stones people to death in the 21st century. It hangs 16-year-olds for acts incompatible with chastity. It denies women the right to divorce, to child custody. It imposes sexual apartheid on millions of people. We have to make a distinction between Muslims.
So it's not to do with Islam, it's to do with people like him.
It is. It's the political Islamic movement, and actually the first victims and the first front of resistance against this movement are people who are either Muslims or being labelled as such.
Murray's critique of Islamic extremism is multifaceted. He argues that certain interpretations of Islam, particularly those espoused by radical groups and individuals, advocate for practices that are incompatible with Western liberal values. These practices may include the imposition of Sharia law, which Murray sees as antithetical to principles such as gender equality, freedom of speech, and individual rights. Central to Murray's argument is the contention that Islamic extremism represents not just a religious ideology, but also a political movement seeking to impose its beliefs on broader society. He points to examples across the globe where extremist interpretations of Islam have led to human rights abuses, restrictions on personal freedoms, and societal divisions.
So he's the problem. The political Islamic movement is the problem.
I just like to make the point that, you know, people say that you can be a gay Muslim, you can be a political Muslim, you can be a radical Muslim. There's only something called a Muslim. The Muslim is the one who practices a religion and he believes in Islam and he accepts all religion. The other thing I would say is it's very rich of Douglas Murray to talk about a religion being, the Islamic religion being violent when he believes in the occupation of Palestine. He's the one who supported the American government in their campaign in Iraq and Afghanistan.
So you are a very political animal, aren't you?
The point is Islam has something to say about everything in our life, including what people like Douglas Murray and the Salah Majid have to say.
Okay, Enquire. Frankly, you know, the image problem that Islam has with some people in this country, is he actually the problem?
Yes, I'm afraid to say
people like him.
Mr. Chowdhury is the problem because I have 20% of my constituents are Muslims, and of those 20% I would say the vast majority have very similar views to myself and other friends here today. They are tolerant and they don't take the views of Mr. Chowdhury. Unfortunately, the ones with the biggest mouths in Keighley are the ones that get listened to, and I'm not even saying that they are like Mr. Chowdhury, but they do have fairly intolerant views of other people.
But we see these surveys and people thinking, you know, and a disturbing amount of people saying they would justify
I think this is bad because, you know, like, I know in Islam you don't have freedom of speech, there is no inequality, there is no, like, you are not so free. Like, a lot of things has been happening.
Violent action, if it were but Douglas Murray, there are some disturbing young people being far more radical. Very disturbing surveys about 7/7 and 9/11 come out, don't
Absolutely, and the younger they go in this country at the moment, the more likely they are to be radical. The politicised version of Islam is the real problem at the moment. Most faiths take a long time to sort of work themselves out, to be interpreted, for people to drop verses that aren't any good. Christianity and Judaism, many centuries ago, got through this process of dropping the wicked and the violent verses. Islam has to do that now, and it has to do it
But isn't that compromising your religion, editing it for the times in which you live? Isn't that let's see what people think about this. Yeah, I'm sure you'd like to say something.
Well, I grew up in a very non-Muslim environment. Most of my friends are in fact Jewish or just generally non-Muslim, and it meant that I was taught to tolerate difference from a very young age, and I think there's a massive difference between tolerating and accepting. Now, I won't partake in behaviour that Islam forbids me from partaking, but that does not mean that I can't tolerate other people doing that, because they are not obligated in any way to follow the rules that I'm taught to follow. And whilst you might not accept things that other people do, you have to at least tolerate it, especially in today's times and in this country as well, where there is such a diversity of behaviour and beliefs. You must tolerate it, even if it's just putting on a face.
Yes, you said. Go on. Yeah, you were talking about sort of editing your religion for the times. You're saying that it compromises your religion. Religion is simply a way of understanding the world. Surely it must adapt as the world adapts, otherwise it shall die out.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
What is it? Let's get to apostasy as well. And we've got a gay Muslim to speak to us, although you don't believe it. Well, some people think you're an oxymoron, and as well. Just a moron. So let's not call each other oxymorons. That's why he's in disguise. I want to ask about apostasy, the abandonment of faith. If God is so great, and who's to doubt that he is, he's also extremely touchy, isn't he?
No, the fact is that we have been given the Sharia to live our lives in every aspect and every department of our life. So that includes, for example, how someone embraces Islam, and that includes rules which apply to those people who leave the fold of Islam.
Why kill them now? Why not wait till the final judgment? That's like a double whammy. Kill them so badly, kill them twice.
At the end of the day, that the best one to determine how you should live your life, how you should function, how you should satisfy your instincts, your desires, and your feelings, is your Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even in the realm of punishment and crime, He is the only one who can determine what the punishment should be, and we should implement it not as if you like, taking some kind of revenge, but as implementing the divine law of God in trying to please Him.
For the vast majority of good-minded people that are watching this show, I want to make it absolutely clear: Anjem Choudhury does not represent Islam, he does not represent Muslims, he does not represent decent human beings. He has no right to interpret the Sharia sitting on this show here, and I just want to make that very clear, that this is an example of an extreme fringe that described the 9/11 bombers as the Magnificent 19. He used to head a group that's now been prescribed under terrorism legislation.
Who support the American government and the British government.
He should not be here talking on behalf of Islam.
Okay, let's get it back.
Otherwise, you're a monarchic and a kafir.
Anjem Choudhury, let's show some respect for these people, please.
Hi there. As a white British unaccompanied woman, I spent my summer in Pakistan last year, and not only did I feel that I was tolerated, I was really accepted, and people, and I walked around in generally Western clothing, and every single person, I never once felt that anyone felt any animosity towards me. People were very accepting and very interested to learn more about me and where I was from, learning about my family and things like that. And I feel ashamed that people in this country don't show the same respect and to Muslims who've come here. And I think it was very telling to me that a mainly Muslim country.
Very welcoming, yeah,
very welcome.
You had a problem in a Muslim country because you're gay.
Yeah.
Are you still a Muslim?
Yes, I'm Muslim. And I'm proud I'm Muslim, but I'm gay.
Was the problem the culture in which you were, or the faith which you practice?
The problems with the Islamic figures, not the Islam. Like, we are, as a Muslim, our guide is Quran. And they're saying about the homosexuality, all the people are, or let's say...
One of Murray's central concerns is the potential integration of Sharia law into Western legal systems. Sharia law, derived from Islamic religious texts and traditions, encompasses a wide range of rules governing personal conduct, family matters, and criminal justice. Murray argues that attempts to introduce elements of Sharia law in Western countries undermine the secular and egalitarian principles upon which modern legal systems are built. He contends that accommodating Sharia law could lead to parallel legal systems within Western societies, potentially eroding the rule of law and undermining the rights of marginalised groups, particularly women and religious minorities. Murray frequently points to cases where Sharia courts operating within Western countries have been accused of dispensing unequal justice, particularly in matters such as divorce, child custody and inheritance.
Islamic figures are fighting the homosexual people. people, because they're trying to get the power against these minorities to get the majorities. Just that's the reason. And for me, I'm a Muslim person. If I want to know what's the rules, I can go to the Quran. There is nothing a term in the Quran which is very clearly against homosexual people. Or against homosexual people, but the problem
is the Bible too.
The problem is that there's two things. People now, or the governments, especially my government, I'm from Iraq, because they are mixing the political situation with the religions. And here, what our country is suffering because of these Muslim figures killing people, not only homosexual people. They are killing everyone. What's happening now in Iraq because all of them.
So it very much there's an internal political situation, power struggle going on. I understand. Harris as well. Is it possible that we'll ever get the way that we have gay priests, for example, a gay imam?
I've never seen a gay imam. The first and foremost,
openly gay, obviously.
I've never seen an openly gay imam. Islam as a faith, as a religion. First of all, the Quran says very clearly that Islam is an advice for yourself, for the individual. So first of all, I have to focus on being a better Muslim from my perspective, the way that I believe. And one of the things I absolutely hate, Nikki, is that when political movements, just as they did in Europe in the 1930s, wanted to determine the perfect Aryan race, the perfect German, or the perfect person that believed in a particular political viewpoint, we now have political organisations that call themselves faith-based Muslim organisations or Islamic organisations that want to determine who and what is a Muslim. And that's something I have a problem with. There is no such thing as one particular type of Muslim. The Quran says there is no compulsion in religion.
It's determined by the Sharia. You see, there's no such thing as political Islam.
There are 73...
For your information, Harris, the Sharia was implemented for 1,302 years on a political level. And can I just say to the man over there, when he says gay Muslim, there's nothing about gay, there's nothing about being gay in the Quran. What about the story of Lut alayhi salam? Why were the people cursed and why were they destroyed?
There's no punishment.
Why were they destroyed?
Okay, wait a minute. There is great intolerance in many religions and in many religious books, Father.
Sadly, yes. And I was interested in what Douglas was saying earlier, and I agree with him entirely, that the problem, and with our friend over here, is with the politicization of religion. There are incidents in our Christian history of which we are ashamed, and which, for example, you talked about the Crusades and Urban starting them. Well, John Paul II spoke at length about that and our sorrow for that. It was a product of its age, and there are various reasons why you can come up with why they happened. We talked about different eras, but the politicization of a religion is very dangerous. So, for example, I'm a Catholic, but I did not support anything that happened in the name of the Catholic Church.
To support his arguments, Murray often draws on historical examples and comparative analysis of other religious and political movements. He contrasts the evolution of Christianity and Judaism, noting how these religions have undergone significant reforms and adaptations to fit within modern secular societies. In contrast, he suggests that Islam has been slower to undergo similar reforms, which he attributes to the perceived sanctity and immutability of Islamic texts. Murray's historical perspective includes references to periods such as the European Enlightenment, which he views as pivotal in shaping Western values of rational inquiry, individual rights, and the separation of church and state. He argues that these values are under threat from ideologies, including radical Islamism, that reject secularism and seek to impose religious laws on society.
In Northern Ireland, for example, it brought shame on my religion, of which I hold very dearly. And it's when people take it to an extreme and do things in the name of that religion which bears no resemblance to what I follow and have given my life to.
Do you think it's, in any religion, it's the empty vessels who make the most noise, that cause the most harm when it comes to the image of that particular religion?
I think religion as at extremes is actually it's anti-religion. I grew up as a Methodist and now I'm not sure I have faith. I'm somewhere between an agnostic and an atheist. I'm not really sure where I am. But for me it's about living a good life. And I know many people who go to church on a Sunday and would call themselves Christians or would say they have a faith, but then don't live the rest of their life like that. And I find that much more upsetting than, you know, it's about how you show yourself, and it's being a good person. It's people who screw up everything in this world. The world's a great place, but it's people who damage it.
Douglas Murray?
And if I can say so, I mean, the great I couldn't agree with that more. The great achievement of Western European civilization in the last few hundred years, the Enlightenment, the ability to not have rules based on people pointing to a verse in a holy book that you may not think is a holy book and saying you have to live your life by the law because of this verse. We've managed to get away from that, and as the gentleman in the front row here has shown, it's very important that Islam also gets away from that. If that happens, it can be a guide to your life, but not the legal nightmare which people like Mr. Chowdhury would have us live in.
Just a point of fact, Nikki, that in fact Muslims never had that problem throughout the whole of history. The Sharia wasn't implemented on a state level. It's the modern politicized Islamist movement that people like Chowdhury represent that is now calling for the politicization of Islam. And I'd just like to remind Douglas as well, the author of Neoconservatism, Why We Need It, that it was Bush who said, you're with us or against us, and not God. And that's an important point.
But Mr. Bush did not say so on behalf of God.
And you're a former radical yourself. Because he launched it in the name of God. So
and you are a former radical yourself. But
I've never been to prison for it.
My last question, because we have this oxymoron, this word has been thrown around. Are you a real Muslim?
Well, I wouldn't like to claim anything about myself. I hope that God accepts me for who I am. I don't think people should label each other or others. You know, this whole term that Islamists have invented, which doesn't exist in the Quran, about practicing and non-practicing Muslim. This is an innovation. This word practicing...
Concern for Murray in the context of Islamic extremism. He has been a vocal advocate for the defence of free expression, particularly in the face of attempts by extremist groups to stifle criticism of Islam or religious practices deemed offensive. Murray argues that the ability to critique and debate religious beliefs is essential for the functioning of a free society, and any restrictions on free speech in the name of religious sensitivity undermine democratic values. Furthermore, Murray raises concerns about the impact of large-scale immigration from predominantly Muslim countries on cultural cohesion in Western societies. He argues that while cultural diversity can enrich societies, it also presents challenges when immigrants bring with them values and practices that are at odds with those of the host country. This cultural clash, according to Murray, can strain social cohesion and lead to tensions over issues such as integration, assimilation, and national identity. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and for more content like this, be sure to subscribe to the...
Alright guys, a lot has been said, so many things have been said so far at this point. We don't really want to say much, so if you know you really enjoyed this video and you have something, and also you want to say something, do want to drop them in the comment section. We are ready, we are so ready to answer to any question, and also we also have some questions we would like to ask, and also we hope to see some people answering the questions for us. Alright, so if you know you really enjoyed this video as much as I did, do want to smash the like button, join the family, join everywhere by clicking on the subscribe button and then the notification bell so you don't miss out whenever I upload a video. We have recommendation, suggestion, guys. Always do not to leave them right in the comment section. Alright, so it was a very good thing doing this with you. I hope to see you in my next video. Until then, stay safe and don't touch that dial, guys. Bye.